come on! Welcome to the Yeah Come On Show with Southside Steve.
And Ed Bolian. Yeah, come on. Ed Bolian is my man. This is my hero, and I say it all the time. And it's not his first time on the Yeah Come On Show. It's probably his second or third. And he's been on our radio show when we were making radio, when we were employed.
That would have been Fox FM, a couple of years ago. And we had him twice on the Yeah Come On Show. One of them we had an audio glitch.
Yeah, there was a glitch.
I think we had to redo it.
We did, and then he also came out to our Christmas party.
Oh, yeah. That's
he
right.
did, and he brought, what did you drive? It was purple.
Oh, a Lamborghini Diablo at the time, I think.
Hey, we drove a Lamborghini out. Yeah. That's it. That's what he does. So for those of you that don't know, Ed Bolian is extremely viral, and I meant that in the sweetest possible way. 2.1, give or take, depending on what it says about you, maybe 2.2 million subscribers, but 1 billion views a year. And that's just one of the things he does. It's called VINwiki. I suggest you follow. Everybody I run to, if you're a car guy, you can't help but follow. And it's from exotic cars to muscle cars. The stories are great, and all the content is phenomenal. And you were the guy. I can't believe I'm sitting next to him. He's Burt Reynolds to me, really is. And you know how much I love Burt. Mm-hmm. He's the Cannonball Run man. 6 years he held the record for the Cannonball Run. It's a real thing. New York to California. Had him on Rock 100.5 in Atlanta. Came in on our show there to talk about it when he did it. That was like 2013 we had you on. And your speed was unbelievable. And you held that record for 6 years. And you also sold exotic cars. You also have worked at Road Atlanta teaching people to drive exotic cars. And you own 10 to 12 cars in a 6-car garage. That's really about it. Ed, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's always great to hear what you're up to.
No, you know what? I see him around town. Our kids go to the same school. They play basketball in the same league. And I always look out and I'm like, what's Ed driving? What's he driving? And it's a fun thing. I'm not the only one that does that. A lot of people, and it's kind of cool what you've done, but you've built this, and we're going to recover a little bit of things that we've said in the past. But for me, I just think it's amazing. If you could just hit on the Cannonball Run, that still happens, and the safety measures that were taken, that you were 3-car crew and the average speed. I just don't think people have a concept of what you pulled off, at least our listeners.
You know, when I was growing up and you'd watch the movie and hear about the magazine articles and things like that, yeah, the reality that there was a New York to L.A. cross-country outlaw road race in the 1970s, to me, was just one of the coolest things about automotive history and car culture, and the notion that people could sort of attach themselves to this idea today through the pursuit of building a car and solving the problems and choosing the best route and getting away with it, not getting arrested, to me was just awesome. It was one of those things that one day could like boil your whole resume down to just a word, the Cannonball guy.
Yeah.
And so I loved that. I loved the challenge. And so in 2013, we set it in a 2004 Mercedes CL55 AMG. And it's been a huge part of my life, my impact in terms of the car world. And it really led to a lot of the stories that ended up on VINwiki. And so now probably 10% of our content over the years has been kind of Cannonball oriented or rally oriented, long distance driving alongside the car flips and the crazy cop stories and everything else that kind of goes with it. But the idea there was just, I thought this was such a way to express what I mean when I say that I love cars. I love buying a car, preparing a car. You know, we had 4 radar detectors and 2 laser jamming systems, an ambulance traffic light changer, CB radio, police scanner, extra fuel tanks, binoculars, nav systems, everything in there. And just trying to, turn the car into this kind of mission control idea that right now is on display at the Savoy Auto Museum over in Cartersville. So it's fun to have become a little bit of a figurehead kind of in the world of Cannonball culture, and to bring so many more people into it, because there has just been this explosion of passion and enthusiasm around the idea that has become a big presence on our channel, social media at large, and even the more mainstream automotive world.
Yeah, I think they could do a remake on that movie. Some people had things, they drove an ambulance like Burt Reynolds did,
That's
or
right.
maybe you were 2 hot girls and you just kept zipping down your top and not getting tickets. But for the way you guys did it, it was so much, I don't know, man. It was so impressive. When I met you, I put it up there, and this is me talking, but I really do. If you've ever won a Super Bowl, if you've won a World Series, if you've won a NASCAR race, or did you hold the record for the Cannonball Run? I put you right in with those people, and I think a lot of people do because it's so cool. But you're not a muscle car guy as much as you are a foreign car guy.
Yeah, I love exotic cars. I kind of grew up with those sorts of posters, the Ferraris, Lamborghinis, playing Need for Speed, watching Gone in 60 Seconds, kind of into the Fast and Furious world, and Top Gear and Gran Turismo. All these things really had a huge impact on a lot of car enthusiasts that are kind of my age in that 30 to 50-year-old window. And as we see the cars that are sort of in an upward trajectory in value, it is based on us kind of building up the cash reserves or the credit or the lifestyle availability to start to participate in those markets. And it is certainly moving values pretty rapidly. And I've always been probably a little overly aggressive in doing that with some heavy financing and leverage. But when I buy the cars that I grew up loving before the people who behave more rationally in the market engage, I kind of am prior to that upswing. And so it has treated me well financially over the years. I am not like a huge proponent of like cars as an investment class. There's obviously carrying cost and some liabilities there, but it has worked a lot, especially in the last 5 years. And so to me, that's a really, really interesting part of modern car culture. And you have to avoid like chasing the biggest, baddest, latest, greatest, whatever thing. I always try to say that I look like I won the lottery 10 years ago. And if I do that, then I'm generally avoiding depreciation, owning them at the right time, and hopefully able to make content. I kind of live in buying the worst examples of the coolest cars of history. And so if I do that and I take a car from like a fundamentally unacceptable state to okay, that's like a really profitable chapter of a car's restoration. Okay to good, you can make a little bit of money. Good to perfect, you lose money. And so it's about owning it in the right way, the stuff that you really genuinely enjoy. And it's been a whole lot of fun.
Dude, that's great. One question I know I've never asked you: who does the work when you take these cars that are just okay or not okay, but you bring them to okay, and then you can sell it and you make 50, 60, 70 grand? Who does the work?
It varies. I've got different shops for different things. I work a lot with a shop up here called DC Motor Works, and they've developed a lot of older Lamborghini expertise, Ferraris, things like that. And that has worked really, really well. You do have to have a network of people. These are not all cars that you can, DIY repair. Sourcing parts is a challenge. And that's where, it's easy to kind of build an arbitrage style benefit because you're taking a car from an unacceptable state that only appeals to a very narrow audience and hopefully turning it into something that is a little bit more reliable, a little more usable, something that you could turn a key, go to a car show, take it on a road trip, things like that. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a Concours winner. But again, that is the margin where I live, is kind of absolutely not okay to, it's all right.
But you look good. You drive it around town. You let your kid use it to go to the prom if you trust him. You flatbed it to shows, but it's not even about the miles. I don't think you're putting 100,000 miles on these vehicles. You just love them.
I drive them more than most people. We were just at a big gathering in Las Vegas. It was the largest gathering of Bugatti Veyrons ever in history, and I decided to just drive mine home. So it was 2,000 miles from Vegas to Atlanta, and I had a wonderful road trip, except for New Mexico. But we did all right.
What happened in New Mexico? Ticket.
I may have gotten a ticket. But fortunately, yeah, we got a sponsor of the ticket clinic that can help us fight such things, no matter where you get one, and it has.
I love the ticket
served
clinic.
Me well.
It has. Now, my co-host Jeff, who's just over there being silent with headset on, making sure our levers are proper. He has a little sports car, and he calls it the panty dropper. Do you have nicknames for yours? You do call it the panty dropper.
It's my. I got the Supra, and I get a lot of compliments on it.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Do you like the Supra?
I do. Yes, they've obviously amazing heritage, the lineage of the car, and he's right. They're just it has the right appeal, it has the right look, it has the right driving characteristic. It's economical to maintain, low depreciation, everything you could possibly want.
I heard you when you were on the Red, White, and Blue show. I heard you mentioning
green.
Red, White, and Green. I'm sorry.
Now, America's red, white, and blue, but we are Americans that love money. That's where the green is.
Yeah, you were talking about there are some cars like from the 90s that are starting to come up in value, and I'm going to guess, is one of them the Nissan 240 SX?
Yes, and certainly the FDRX7 and the Supras of the day are all going up. I mean, you'd pay for a 90s Supra, especially a hardtop manual car, $120,000, $130,000. Wow. That's 10x over the last decade that these cars have gone up.
What year was yours?
My 240?
Yeah.
Well, my 240 they got stolen.
I know.
It was the last year. It was 1998. and it was in great condition. It's the heartbreak of my life. Stolen right out of my driveway because these drifters. It has the heavy engine up front, where it's
not vagrants, actually people that slide cars around.
Exactly. Yeah, those kinds of drifters.
They're not bad guys. They're just
Sometimes
drifters.
both. Let's be honest. But yes.
But people would ask me all the time, "Hey, do you want to sell your car? You want to sell your car?" I think someone finally just followed me home, came back that night, hot wired it, gone.
Yes,
That stinks.
and that does happen. And it's been interesting how I've been very, very fortunate in the progression of my career in the automotive space to be able to efficiently move between chapters, to working at the racing school, running the exotic car rental company, selling Lamborghinis and other exotic cars, starting in the automotive data app world, into social media, and leveraging each of those opportunities into whatever could come next. And I know that you're kind of in that chapter yourself where you have this decades and decades of notoriety and significance on radio, which is a lot less of a thing today than the podcast world. And I'm curious of how is the reinvention for this chapter, for this platform going?
Yeah, you know what? And you're actually a person, which is why I love having you on anytime. Number one, I'm a fan. Number two, I value your friendship, and you come across to me like if you have a bad side, damn if I've ever seen it. But you're clean cut, you're super nice, and you're on point, and you don't say ever, and that's why I did that on purpose. You get your words out, so you can do about anything, even my career. But you have talked about the algorithm, and you've talked about, to me, how you chase that, how you find it, and we're all in a different world with terrestrial radio. So I have done the 30 years, and you're right, I was probably the most talked about. People say there was a research done about 4 years ago. Cox Media Group did it, and I find out that I'm the number one, if in the number two in all categories. But as far as recognition, name recognition,
sure, yeah,
visual, because I was noticed when there wasn't social media because I was going and doing the monster truck, the Supercross. I'm down on the dirt at the Georgia Dome, now gone. And I'm talking to people, and you're up on the jumbo screen. So people got a visual, and it's also, I had to keep the long hair, the ponytail. I don't know that I would have it if I didn't do what I'd done for 30 years. It's a way to recognize me. So that's what I'm playing off of. I'm like, is there something value in a recognized guy that you've listened to for years, that you've heard say some pretty raunchy things? Maybe I've done raunchy things, but I've been married and I've got 2 boys. I've never kissed another girl since my wife, but before that, I was known for kissing a lot of girls. And then you look at the crazy stunts, man, where I'm the guy that's going to jump into a rock quarry and do all this crazy stuff, but we didn't film it. Or am I the guy that's in the bathroom and I do in my stall and I tap on the stall and I make you super uncomfortable having a conversation with you? And those are the things that put me on the map. So what I've done is, with this podcast, that was just for fun. I wasn't taking it serious. Our numbers aren't what they should be. But I said, what if I take 4 hours of radio, what you talk in a show, and I'm talking 7-8 minute segments, and I put it into 30 minutes, unedited, where we don't try to polish it. If Jeff makes a mistake or I make a mistake, we roll. If I bring you on as a guest, you're walking into the room or you're coming up on the phone. It's not polished. I'm not trying to. I'm showing you real radio in 30 minutes without music. And that's kind of what I thought I could capitalize on. And then are there podcast shows that I can get on with my experience? And I think you'll agree, there's a lot of podcasters that don't have mic technique, facial technique, how to look at the camera, that just don't have the things that I've learned over a 30-year career.
No, absolutely. And, I think as I've kind of accidentally approached social media content creation, because I was using it to promote the VINwiki app initially, and then it's kind of become its own media entity, it's so fun to watch the different strategies that people have great success with. And for me, what really excites me is when somebody lands on a format or a concept that they can rinse and repeat and make it every single day if they need to, 3 times a week if that's what it is, once a month if that's what it takes, but they have something that is the right recipe of who they are, what they're talking about, how they address the audience, and how they make those connections, that becomes something that is super long-term sustainable and engaging. And I think you've got the right recipe, but sometimes, what I noticed, and I'll do a lot of guest appearances on other ththings or collaborative projects, and so...
Oh, you're the most fantastic guest ever. I would shop you to anybody. I could be your agent. Dude, I could. I'd be like, you want him? You want Ed Bolian?
You got to come through Steve.
Got to come through me.
That's it.
No, you want
one of the
fastest.
things we had to do and spend some real time on was so I do a Top Gear style car buying, flipping show with 2 other big car YouTubers, but we've all got our audiences coming in, and there's a lot of overlap, but there's also a lot of unique elements of that Venn diagram where they have familiarity with one of us, but not the other two. And we had to spend a lot of time distilling our personas down into something that could be easily conveyed and digested so that we gave a new audience member the chance to really become invested in the storyline without having to go through the anthology or the canon of what is required to know who Ed is or Tyler Hoover is or who Southside Steve is. And I think, you could probably benefit, and I'm not trying to, psychoanalyze you, but just to get to a point of saying, all right, if I just wanted to have a stranger introduce me in 30 seconds, how would I want them to describe Southside Steve in such a fashion that you would be interested, not necessarily in having to dig through decades of radio, but to say, I want to join in this journey and go along to see what the next 10 years of his life is like and what lens I can get into it.
Dude, that is like sound advice. I mean, I know how they would start. They go, Steve Rickman, a man that has been through not one but two penile reduction operations. No, I'm kidding. But
hey, we've all got our struggle. Carry that cross, Steve.
Tired of girls crying. No. So but yeah, it's that blueness too, where I'm like, do I let a lot of the blue go? But I see what comedians are doing. I see clean comedians. I'm kind of a comedian of sorts. So for me, when I do a promotion out, I always joke, I play off the audience. I've got improv skills. But I'm like, what about, do I just go all into it? Because people laugh their ass off when I'm out playing golf or something. But I talk a lot dirtier than I do. I think on air, and maybe it's because I got my 5-year-old, my 8-year-old in my head, or my beautiful wife. I'm like, do I go there? Or do I just try to keep it clean? And I even do a podcast as if I'm doing it on the radio. I don't say F-bomb. I've never said the word on a podcast, and I've never even put it in print on social media. So that is something I just don't know whether I let it go and embrace the Eddie Murphyism, or do I go clean and stay clean? And what am I going to be known for? And it's too easy to say that. And I think a lot of times I don't want to go there, and I don't know if that's a mistake.
It may not be a mistake. It may not even be a factor because, when you talk about the volume of content that you have put out in your career, you are a little bit more of a style than a context. So you have more relevance to Atlanta culture than really any other personality probably could. But that's mostly your style. It is the ponytail. It is the womanizing. It is all of the things that go with the blue comedy that go with your career. But at the same time, you want to distill that into something that is contextual and applies to what you're really going to focus on. You're doing financial advice, you're doing lifestyle advice, you're doing news commentary, you're doing all these things. So you want to say that, nobody is more relevant than Steve when it comes to Atlanta-based action, news, happenings, events, venues, all these things. But when you look through Steve's eyes and when you hear through Steve's stories of what this is, you're going to hear it in a way that is that relevant, that is that insightful, that is amusing and lighthearted, but will get you to the seriousness and the networking and the connections of the outcome. And I think if you can start to boil it down in that way, you're going to have people who hear that and go, that's exactly the way that I want to see the world and I want to see living in Atlanta.
Wow, that's strong. I can tell you right now, I don't know how many times you're going to watch this podcast, but I'm going to watch it 100, taking notes.
It's like a motivational.
It is a motivational
podcast.
And I know what Ed's doing because Ed's crushing it. VINwiki, if you're not following VINwiki, you need to. You need to subscribe because this guy's excellent and the car stories are great. And he is a cannonball runner. But like he said, that's only 10% of who you are now, what you did holding a record that most people can't even fathom for 6 years. And people were trying to beat that record those 6 years. Not everybody does it for fun, right? You did it in a 73 Rolls Royce like Jamie Farr. I don't know if you wore the Arab outfit, but you did it.
At the start and the finish. We took it off in the middle, I'll be honest with you. We don't need to go to an Oklahoma gas station dressed like that.
No, you don't. That's smart man, Ed. But yeah, you did that for fun. So I do think there's people trying to beat a record. So it's pretty incredible that you held that record. And the fact that you've taught people to drive high performance vehicles and you've done it and you've sold them. So I'm such a fan, but I love what you're doing even for me because we are trying to figure it out. I also is Jeff dead weight? Do I keep Jeff? Because he was a part-timer for 20 years and he never did full-time radio. He was a weekender, but he did work for The River. You worked for 96 Rock. You worked for The Bull. I mean, you've been on the big station, so I tagged him along. Plus, he's tan. He usually looks good. He doesn't need makeup.
That's it. It's just out of the shower like this.
But
man.
what do you think of your co-host? What is a person like? What do you advise there? Does the co-host need to be as big as you are, or a great backup guy? Is it a Johnny Carson, Ed McMahon?
Anything can work, and that's the great thing about social media is there isn't this regular guy's 3-guy requirement that there have to be the serious guy, the guy that gets you through the show, and then the guy that adds color that we're so used to in a lot of these.
And I've always been the color guy.
And that's wonderful, but now you're looking to carry a show and move it through a storyline and give someone value. And that's where just the consumption has changed so much. It's not, I listened to you on the way to high school, and that because it was that was the best morning show that was available.
It was.
And until I was interviewed on it and that kind of thing. And then you saw like the longevity of Burt Weiss and everything else that's happened in Atlanta radio. And it's so awesome. But that's not how people consume anything. They don't just turn the TV on and leave it in the background anymore. They go to specific 8, 10, 20-minute shows. A 30 to 60-minute show is a commitment. And so as you think about how you're packaging your material today, it's a different world. And it doesn't mean that relevance isn't applicable. It doesn't mean that you can't package what you love and how you see the world into something that they can consume on their terms. But you're going to do things like, what are your top 10 restaurants in Atlanta? What are your top 10 sports moments the last 40 years for Atlanta culture? What are the top 10, things that everyone must know the first week they move to Atlanta? Because you are the person to speak to that stuff.
Do you think, and we've talked about that, Jeff, and I want you to hit on that because do we want to be Atlanta centric? Because your show is worldwide.
For sure.
I mean, what you talk about, anybody, and that's incredible to have that because everybody loves the cars you drive, the cars you own, and the cars that y'all talk about in the car stories. Because cars, to me, and I think you talked about this on the podcast on the red, white, and green. For me, it is like the jewelry. It is the something that I want to own that maybe is in the garage, has a car cover that is worth money. That when I take it out,
There's an aspirational aspect to it. There is a financial, both gatekeeping aspect and a realization at the end of it, hopefully, aspects. But I think the fact that a Ferrari is a Ferrari here in Europe, in Australia. It matters.
You win.
But that means that my impact will be broad. For instance, when I sell our whiskey, it's mostly online. When you sell yours, it's in local bars and stores because that's where your brand lives. And so our abilities to connect with our audience is also wildly different and has both advantages to me and advantages to you.
Yeah.
And so neither is wrong. And neither is disenfranchised by the nature of modern content creation or social media. It is simply that we have to use the tools that are available and the audience expectations to make sure that we're packaging the right product. And so, I think that the fact that my audience is broad and it's so niche specific, I am not a general commentator. If I do financial content or news, it's odd. It's unexpected, right? And maybe I can speak to it, maybe I can't. Maybe I just pretend my way through it and I don't use filler words that often, so it seems like I know what I'm talking about.
All right.
But whatever it is, I think you can become who you want to be in this chapter and leverage the successes that you and the personality that you have.
And that's exactly, what I'm trying to do. And the wife has said things. I don't know if your wife's ever said it. Are you in love with being VINwiki? But my wife has said to me, I think you're in love with Southside Steve. You just want to be Southside Steve. But is that the right thing to do for the family? And I'm like, well, I've built something over 30 years. I need to capitalize on it. And this is my skill set. So I don't really want to go in this 10-year chapter into something else, even if it gives me, I won't say satisfaction, security. And I don't want to play the security game.
Well, security is the confidence in the path forward. And security comes from momentum and inertia. And for sure you have that. And more so, I would say you have the foundation.
Yeah, I'm on the gas.
And it would not be wrong for somebody to say, our next guest is Steve Rickman. You might remember him as Southside Steve, but now he is. And what comes after that is as powerful as this 30-year career of being a disc jockey.
Right.
You've got the ability to pivot and to grow. And
that's what I want to do. I want to grow. I don't want to tell all the old stories if I don't have to.
Well, there's a time and a place for that. And I, to your point, I think being Atlanta-centric is definitely something that we should capitalize on, especially because Atlanta's such an international city now.
And Jeff Cole, Jeff's born here. I'm born here.
Yeah, we both are. So
and our parents were born here. Where were you born?
Buford. Yeah.
God dang, another one. All right, so here we are. We're Atlanta natives, man. That's strong. I love that, Ed. I think I knew that, but I don't know. Real quick, your philosophy on this, because this, you're actually seeing us do homework with a very successful friend, and he is a friend. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here. And when I call Ed, the answer is never no. Mm-hmm. So I love that, Ed. I love that we have that. And I hug Ed too tightly in public, but his wife's not jealous.
I enjoy it.
Thank you. So what your vision?
For our show?
Yeah, because we were thinking, how do we do a 40-minute show, which is 4 hours of radio minus the music, a little bit of commercials because we've got to pay the bills, but we voice them and make them fun. Like we're in the Exit Wealth studios. Go to exitwealth.com if you want to change your direction. So
yeah, like these are doing the radio show, being funny, topical, kind of covering a little bit of everything, but also throwing in the Atlanta stuff. Just our history, comes out all the time. We talk about the same sports moments in Atlanta history. How many times do I bring up Steve Bartkowski?
Yeah,
at least once a week.
There you go. As one ought to, right?
Yeah.
As one ought to.
Those kind of things are funny.
By the way, if you haven't seen him, he doesn't walk well. To the offensive line, you suck. That guy got sacked so many times. His knees are shot. He can barely walk. He got tackled a lot more than he should have.
And when you think about how a point like that resonates with your audience, that they want to understand how the world at large impacts Atlanta, how the difference is between somebody who grew up in Atlanta and moved here 5 years ago because they got tired of the taxes elsewhere.
And we're surrounded by that where we live.
We
surrounded.
And what that means for how the neighborhoods have changed, what being from the South Side even means anymore. And I think that that's what is so much fun, because that is the invitation to grow. And if you have a medium like this where, you bring what you do, but more significantly, you are creating something new that is a way for the audience to come alongside you, experience what you're going through, and you're going to have the stories that come back, but they come back for context. They don't come back to be the primary point of it. You say, this reminds me of the time where I was doing this event at that Hooters, the one that you don't get shot at, and that's why we went there.
There's another. Hooters comes up because that's a big part of Atlanta history and yours. Even that's how we met. The first time we met in 1995 was at a Hooters.
Because I was.
It was a day ending in Y, and it was Southside Steve, right?
Yeah, come on, that's true. And I'm hosting a talent contest, and he shows up and does stand up, and he's got longer hair than me.
Yeah.
Wow. You're a reformed long hair person.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
I
it.
see.
Well, tell me this much, and I appreciate this, and having you on anytime. I don't think I can have you on enough, but what you're doing right now with VINwiki is always growing. Is that pretty much where you are right now? You're happy with what you're doing? Do you see that as your 10 years? You've already been doing it 10 years.
I have been doing it for 10 years, and you start to notice different patterns in the world of content creation. And most of us that had, let's say, more than 1 million subscribers or followers prior to 2020 are seeing some level of decline.
Okay.
And that's okay, because what we're seeing really is that we're being exposed less by the algorithms to new viewers, but we are being served more to our established subscriber base. And so when you look at the analytics in any of the platforms, there's always a balance. And usually it's about 50-50, but as we see it now, it starts to be 60, 70% subscribers. Now that means that people have finally made the decision to subscribe, which is obviously helpful to the channel and the sponsor relationships and things like that. But also it means that that is where the notifications are going, because the platforms all have different systems of how they notify people. We were talking about with early growth, one of the hacks is live content, right? So if you do a 4-hour live stream at the goal of eventually coming up with, the first 3,000-4,000 watch hours to get monetized on whatever the platform is, doing that by heavily promoting a big live show with multiple guests is the way to do that. It just happens.
Yeah. So that's something we should do, like a live show. We're also looking to doing live shows.
Absolutely.
On places that, he has relationships with.
Yeah, the ones right now.
And we could live stream those.
No, we could. Small Sliders is coming, and this is a group that's going to have 50 of these locations if you haven't heard about it. It's 850 square feet. It's one of those little deals where they're 2 storage things. They set it down. It's done. It's got an outdoor area. It's drive through. And I got a buddy. It's about to open 26 of them. The first one's in Marietta, and I've become the face of small sliders as of like 2 weeks ago. But we've been talking for a few months. I'm like, I love little squares. It's for the guy that doesn't want to spill. It's for kids, which the great size of their hand. I don't want to hand my kid a big burger in the back of my car and ruin my interior. The next one, and I'll ask you, all the trips and all the places you go, have you ever used fifth wheel or bumper? Driving an RV would crush you. There's no way. It's too slow. It's too big. It would scratch Ed Bolian's soul. It would. And to me, and is Bolian or Bolian? Bolian, but it's Bolian. Steve, how do I say it? Is it pronounce your name perfectly?
Ed Bolian.
See, I do say it right. I think I used to say Bolian, but it's Ed Bolian. But I've been getting it right now for like 3 years. Ed Bolian.
We're on a good track.
But I think the first time I met you, and I'm like, now I know you're a local guy, but you can't drive something that big. So Camp Right RV, I am definitely the face of these guys. I'm going to go out on the lot, film one day a month, and show you everything they have. But they're $20,000 to $150,000. They've got one called the Nitro that you would just love. It's perfect for car shows where you just drive a couple golf carts in it, or if you're a Harley guy or a dirt bike guy or an SUV guy. And it's got an area for a room where you could do a broadcast or work.
Nice.
And it's just set up for somebody that is honestly doing interviews and living extra on life, and you could live in it, and it's $100,000. And so I'm going to highlight these things, Camp Right RV in Loganville, but I'm like, would that be something you've ever owned to go to these car shows and stuff you've done?
We've talked,
or do you always get a hotel room?
Stuff like that. I hate shipping cars, so I will drive just about anywhere.
You drive there, okay.
So I love a road trip, and I don't mind a cheap hotel with a Lamborghini parked outside. It doesn't bother me at all. And so that
would scare the hell out of me.
To me, it's just a car. It's just got paint on it. There's more of that at the store. We can make it all okay. And so, but that's my brand. And so I need to make sure as I create content, as I do appearances, that what I do fulfills the audience expectation, that hopefully is an actual authentic representation of who I am. And I've had to give some real thought to that and think, well, this car would contradict that. First of all, is it something that I really want? Or is it something that I think is a financial opportunity? Or is it something that I think the audience wants me to have or somebody else wants me to have? And so in some ways, I try to stay in my lane. And in some ways, I want to reinforce the expectations so that I don't cause confusion for the audience. And I think that's where your next steps come in so crucially, is to make sure that it is a proper evolution of your foundation, but it also is something that's exciting and revelatory, and it does demonstrate the kind of growth that your wife wants you to have.
That's it. You know what? And I've been humped over for too long. I need to stand upright. When you see the evolution of man, maybe from here on out, I stand straight and tall.
Look at you.
Look at me. Ed Bolian. And that is Jeff Cole, my co-host. All things Atlanta with these three guys, all born in Georgia, Buford, Athens, and downtown. We lived in West End, but West End Steve didn't sound good, so I went with the South Side where I grew up.
Branding.
Yeah, it's just all about branding. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show. We went long, but I want to thank our sponsors, and I'm going to do something I never do. I want you just to name a couple of your sponsors because they deserve it, because I love the success you've had. I'm very proud of you.
Well, the same way that you can speak so well to Atlanta-based sponsors because you've been repping them for 30 years, we've got guys like the Ticket Clinic that help us fight tickets no matter where you get them.
Ticket Clinic.
Premier Financial Services for exotic car financing.
If you want to buy a Lamborghini.
That's it. Auto Tempest is how you find obscure cars around the internet because they compile all the results from all the listings into one place,
Never
things like that.
Heard of that. Auto Tempest. That's where you go to get your next panty dropper.
That's it. Yeah. So that makes it easy. These are the people that have been with us forever, Bridgestone tires. So it's all very endemic. So it fits well into the automotive space. These are people that see tremendous results from long-term relationships with VINwiki, and our audience really love using them. And so as they have good stories, good results to throw in the comments, it all helps the world go around.
There you go. If you're a first-timer, I'm everything at Southside Steve Rickman or Steve Rickman. And Ed, how do they follow you?
At Ed Bolian or at VINwiki, anywhere you can find it.
And it's everywhere. Can I get a yeah, come on?
Yeah, come on.
Dude, that was